Good morning. I know I almost didn't show up today, only because I'm getting a sinus infection, a sinus cold, whatever. 0 out of 10, do not recommend. But I said I wanted to because I don't know what I did yesterday. I scheduled the live to go for 7 p.m. instead of 8 a.m. So I was able to check it out. That was a message from like I still had hair on my sides, so that had to be like 2016, maybe early 2017, before I cut the sides on my hair into a mohawk. So back then, I felt like I was doing like those real deep messages. So make sure you go back and watch Throwback Thursday message from yesterday, August 21st. All right. Um, so today I wanted to talk about something, and I like to put this disclaimer out there. And it's sad that we have to do these types of things, but it's so necessary because people will see and then be like, oh, she doesn't believe in God. I believe that God has a hand, He has a hand in everything, right? So, what people have done is create frameworks that will help people in understanding their faith and understanding what's happening and how do they like communicate. Um, and so for me, I know that one of the things I've heard often from Christians is that, they'll pray, they'll talk to God, but they don't really know, like, is this an answer that God is telling me? Especially if it's not someone like a prophet telling them. And we need to be able to have decisions made without always consulting a prophet, an apostle, or something like that. So there are tools out there that can help you to understand yourself as far as like your natural wiring and being able to utilize these different frameworks. That's what it is. It's not your gospel, it's not your Bible. It is your framework that is to be used in alignment with your faith. Okay? Disclaimer, because I don't want nobody. And if you do, I'm deleting your comments. Thank you. Now, 3 years ago, 2022, I remember, I came across something called human design. What is that? Now, because I'm a natural researcher, this actually came up in assisting. The first time I ever heard about this was I was assisting a faculty member at my job with creating a course, and this was something that their students were gonna have to do a research about because there's like different types, and they had to do a compare and contrast. So naturally, I was just intrigued, and then I always feel as though that whenever you start looking at something, your timeline is now gonna like become oversaturated with it, which is a good and a bad thing. So this particular one I have realized was a way to not only just help understand myself, but a way to make decisions. Human design, it is based off of your birth date. So you have to know your full birth date and time. And then like the location that you were born. And then it will tell you your human design. Now, how I've used it as far as the research that I've seen was like human design and decision making, human design and how to respond, human design and entrepreneurship. So, this is how I ended up in the space that I'm in now because it was just confirming, right? A lot of this stuff was just confirmation of how I find things, I see things, I'm reading something online, I watch a video, and then I respond to it, right? And when I realized that based off of my human design, that is why I was doing that because my human design says that I'm supposed to respond to things, right? So, you see that video, you see that book, something's interesting, someone says something, you take that, and then that becomes the conversation piece. And it has worked for me, and it definitely works for a lot of people. Now, there are 5 human designs. So again, there's like websites that you can go to. So you can just like human design, don't pay for it. Don't pay to find out like your human design. Please don't do that. There are free websites. So you just you put your information in, and then you're going to be one of five types. So you can be a projector, a manifesting generator, a generator, or no, it's four types. I'm sorry. It's a projector, reflector, uh, gener- manifesting generator, and then a generator, right? So I'm an MG. I'm a manifesting generator. And so when I understood that and I started to read it, and it was just like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. And I started to understand how my human design type was utilized in making decisions. It made me reflect back to certain things. And so they say that with manifesting generators, MGs, when we are to make a decision, it's best if people ask us yes and no questions, right? Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. So, do you want chicken? Yes or no. Do you want coffee? Yes or no. Do you want ice cream? Yes or no. When someone is asking you those questions as a manifesting generator, it's like whatever the initial answer is, that's the true feeling of what you want. So when you initially say like if it's like a strong yes, then it's a yes. Yes, you should do that. If it's a hard no, and if it's like one of those like I'm not really sure, then it's just a no until it becomes a yes. And it made me think about something that happened back in 2012. And this is also when I also debunked another thing. When people say, "Oh, you get butterflies in your stomach," sometimes those are not butterflies. Sometimes those are not butterflies. A lot of times they're not butterflies. And so my ex boyfriend, he had he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I remember I had like this pit in my stomach. It was like somebody came and was like punched me, and I had to poop. And it's the way I can describe it. And what I realize now, because he did ask me a yes or no question, you will be my girlfriend, yes or no. That was my body saying a strong no, right? But I didn't pay attention to that. I was listening to, oh, that is this is butterflies in my stomach. Yes, I want to be with you. No, 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 and no. That was the Holy Spirit saying, run, abort mission. And so over the last 3 years, just doing that little exercise for myself, it made me understand like, okay, yeah, let me, keep asking me those yes and no questions and allowing my body to respond to things in this way. And then being able to honor that, right? That's like actually one of the harder parts. A lot of people do not know how to honor their themselves when things are asked for them. So, like I said, if you do find out that you are a manifesting generator like myself, and someone is asking you yes or no questions, if you find it like instantly you know the answer, then that's the answer that you're still really supposed to go with. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? I've learned how to say no. So if someone is like, hey, can you do this for me? If instantly my gut is saying no, it's a no, right? And I stand firm on that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So many people are afraid of saying no. So many people are like, well, I don't want to hurt this person's feelings, but you have to honor yourself, right? And so when you know that you're making a concrete, sound decision that is going to help you honor yourself, that means that you're just putting you first. And unfortunately, that person has to understand that right now in this moment, it's not about them, right? You're unable to do it for whatever reason. And I also don't want you to even get into the space of explaining to them why it's a no, right? Because your gut told you it is a no. And think back to a time when you said no to something and then you found out later on something bad or something crazy happened. You're probably thinking to yourself, I'm glad I said no, right? And so this is how we have to like really start paying attention and start understanding. So when you know more about yourself, right? I just always say, take a look at something, and then kind of go from there. And then you can make a sound decision. You can decide, you know what? This doesn't align with me. This doesn't work for me. And then you can walk away. But if you are looking at it and you're like, okay, you know, Because the way I look at it, I'm tired of being in a space in my life where I'm chasing everything, right? We're chasing opportunities, we're chasing people that we shouldn't be. So if your type is going to be able to help you to discern how not to move forward in a situation, then let's utilize that. Let's go with that, right? Because I know that as a manifesting generator, it also confirmed I'm one of those people that I have a lot of interest in things. Um, the best way to compare it is that I have a window open on my computer and I got a whole bunch of tabs open, and each tab is representing a different project, a different idea, a different theory. They said that my type of people that typically have incomplete projects, I do. I have about 20 journals that have not been finished, that are not published. I could have been had them published on Amazon, but I haven't finished them. I have a book that is, I mean, it's a book. It's not the book that I want to write next, but it is a book that I started. All of this stuff is going to help you, right? It's going to help. It's going to help you to respond, how you're going to show up, and then, like I said, it's going to help me. It helped me to not chase every opportunity, right? Because everything is not going to be a yes. So when your gut is like able to help you and be like, no, no, it's like it sounds good, but no, we're not doing that, right? I've done it with job decisions. Like, do I want to take this job? And then immediately, if my gut is like no, then it is a no, right? At the end of 2022, I had a really big opportunity out in New York, and I had to utilize my human design to like, do you really want this job? And I didn't even have to, right? So let me tell you what happened. They did a video. The last call was with the vice president of the college, and he asked me. He was like, "Do you want this position?" And immediately in my gut, it was like, "No, we don't want this." Right? It was like a hard no. And I remember saying yes, and then I remember I had to backpedal and I had to backtrack, and I was like, you know what? I'm sorry, I can't do this, right? Because when he first asked me that question, it already gave me the no. My gut already told me, do not do this. And I'm thankful for that because look where I'm at now. Because that was at the end of 2022. Just 6 months later, literally 6 months later, I was accepted into the Tulsa remote program, right? So sometimes we kind of like, we go into these opportunities and we get fully committed because this was the contract and it was like one of those um like it was not at will. I think they were like, we want you to like be here for at least 2 years. And I also know that sometimes I'm the type of person that if I get into a position, even if I know that I don't want to be there because I become so, I don't want to like abandon them. I don't want to just like leave them. They need me. And I actually ignore my own self. And yeah, we're not doing that anymore. So sometimes it's like really helpful in your decision making and it allows you to just stand firm in it, right? And so as you're like looking at it, you're gonna learn about like using your authority as a compass instead of overthinking, right? That's for me, that's very big. And then it's gonna like help you with like choosing projects, locations. I mean, like I try to take away the guesswork, and it makes me think about an episode of Big Bang Theory, and I know God forgive me, but I love that show. But there was an episode. If you do not follow this, they're like all scientists. They're physicists, and one is an astronaut, and they have one of the like lead characters is Sheldon. Sheldon is like the super nerd of everybody. Sheldon, right? Sheldon did one time because he was like, I have such these great ideas. I can be wasting my ideas and my brain powers on making these like trivial decisions. So Sheldon took some dice and he was like, that's how he was going to make his decision. Whatever it said, that is what he was going to do. And so I feel like it's the same way. Like whatever my gut says is what I'm going to do, right? This is not going to be Tanisha making the decision. My gut and the Holy Spirit is coming together and they're letting me know, nope, right? And it becomes so easy, right? So when I hear people like, do you want to do so and so? No. And if that no comes out so smooth, then it's a real no. But then sometimes somebody was like, you want to do something? You be like, yes. It's just like you really want to do it, right? So I want you to understand that these tools are just helpful, and I just want you to always have access to resources that are going to help you. And like I said before, this is not going to replace your faith. This is not going to replace your relationship with God. This might help you to actually get to a point where you start listening and start believing the answers, because some of y'all are getting these answers and you're ignoring them and you're doing everything opposite of what the clear answer has been, right? You're taking on projects that God is like, no, I never told you to take on that project. I never told you to take that job. I never told you to be their friend. I never said to go that direction, right? So you have to understand. So that's why I say, like, if you're like, gosh, should I take this position? And if whatever that initial answer that comes to you, that's the answer that you need to believe, right? And like I said, the more that you understand, it's just going to be better for you as you are evolving and you are growing in your self development and understanding who you are naturally at the core without the influence. Because this has no real influence of anything. Everything that I've read and I studied about human design, I can't really see where it's like, oh, yeah, your parents are going to be like this. Not unless you make that a part of your narrative, which I don't. So I always encourage you to always do your research. And as always, if you do want to have a conversation, drop something down in the comments. If you have any questions, if you want to get on my calendar, if you want to continue this conversation a little bit more and seeing how this can actually be a part. I am not a specialist in this. There are actually people that have studied this. They can go in depth. I only know about my type. I don't know as much about other types, but you can go out there and you can research and you can find that, or you can get on my calendar and I can put you in contact with some of the people that I have studied and follow some of their videos, and you can get an understanding. I'm willing to do those types of things because I'm not trying to be the master of everything, right? That is the one thing that I am learning. I don't have to do everything. I don't have to teach you everything. All I can do is introduce it, plant the seed, and let somebody else water it. And that is what I'm willing to do. So you can get on my calendar, we can have this conversation, and then I can point you in the direction. And that discovery call is completely free. So you can go to my Linktree /Tanisha Shanae. It's the very first link, and we can have a conversation. And like I said, I want to point you in the direction of the people that can really help you understand your type and how you can start to utilize it. And that would be it. Okay. But I want us to have another framework. Again, hear me? Another framework on how we can start to make aligned life decisions. That's all. Nothing less, nothing more. That's it. Okay? The voice is starting to hurt, so let me get out of here. But I love you all. Have an amazing day on purpose, with purpose, and I hope you all continue to do great things out there. I love you. Be well, and I will see you on Monday, because Monday is my birthday. Monday is my birthday. Sorry, guys. Sorry. 3 more days. All right. Have a good one. Be well and have a great weekend.